I've played 5 hours worth of the Wild Hearts 10-hour trial through the Xbox Game Pass. I've even streamed most of it on this channel, so if you want to give that a watch, I'll leave a link down in the description box below. Otherwise, you can stick around here because I'll be showing most of the highlights in this video. There's quite a bit to talk about in this trial, so let's get to it. Firstly, the graphics. At first, it looked kinda weird. Some of the textures looked a bit odd to me, like it didn't look high in quality, which I mostly said during the stream. However, after playing around a bit more off stream, it actually looked okay. I don't know why my brain thought that it looked horrible, but it's not too bad. I will complain about that one area with the rain, because that was just an overload of particles. I could barely see through that rain. Was that meant to be intentional? Because that did not look good. The character customization though, damn. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, and the characters looked really good. You have the usual, modify your face including the eyes, mouth, nose and ears, all the way to changing your eye and hair colors. I really like the fact that you can change the hair length, which I don't think I've come across in other character customization screens. You can also slap on some tattoos if you like as well. I always like putting on a scar for my character nowadays. Moving on to combat. In this trial, they only allow you to use 5 weapons. The first one you start off with is the katana. You can then forge the other 4 weapons, the nodachi, bow, maul, and the bladed wagasa. Once again, at first, I was kinda disappointed at the weapon combos. I was hoping that the combos would be somewhat complex, like being able to alternate between pressing X and Y with some attacks. Most, if not all of these weapons, feel like they have 3 combo strings, and these combos aren't difficult at all in my opinion. Now obviously I'm kind of wrong about the 3 combo strings, but it feels like they have just those 3 main ones, and then you can kind of slightly mix in between some combos. It's pretty much just mash this button multiple times, which you can see in the training mode. This I really liked. The training mode properly tells you what you can do with these weapons. It literally guides you through the weapons combos and abilities, which obviously Monster Hunter lacked. This is really good for completely new players coming into this game. The only thing I would like for this training dummy to do would be to enable it to attack. It can attack when you're going through the bladed wagasa tutorial, but after that, it won't attack again. Like, I want to play around with the parrying, but I guess parrying times differ to whatever monster you're fighting. Out of these 5 weapons, the maul and the bladed wagasa are actually hard to use. They both require you to get good at timing. The maul's special ability of extending the handle is painful to do. Every time you swing with the maul, the weapon lights up, and at that moment, you're meant to press RT to extend the handle. I kept on missing the timing, and with how slow the weapon moves, I would get destroyed by the monster. I definitely need more practice with that weapon. As for the bladed wagasa, that weapon heavily relies on parrying. If you don't parry with this weapon, your DPS, damage per second, will be at an all-time low. You will be taking way too long fighting a monster if you don't parry. Parrying will increase the weapon's meter, which in turn increases the weapon's damage, which is why you need to parry. I died too many times trying to parry attacks. I think they either need to increase the parry window or increase the meter gauge, because if players can't time things, then using this weapon is not for them. That's my only gripe with that weapon. Now, using the Karakuri in combat is kind of weird, but really fun. This is definitely something I feel like will get better over time the more you use it. The first time you use it, it will feel clunky, and it does kind of break up the flow of battle. This is because you start to think whether this is the right time and place to build a Karakuri, and then you're stuck there either thinking about building it or not. However, in reality, you should just build it, and it's pretty quick. I do like and hate the springboard. This thing can either help with closing or creating distance, since it's both used as an opening attack or a way to get away from the monster. However, since you build this thing in front of you, if you don't move the stick away from the monster, you will end up moving yourself into the monster, and then you just take a hit instead of running away. I think I need to get better at using it. Speaking about fighting the monsters, they did feel like using the dodge button was practically useless. That's pretty much due to their massive sizes, but it kinda sucks that the dodge covers a small distance. Although I did create an armor piece that increases your dodge distance, so that's assigned for armor pieces to change your playstyle. You get to fight 3 monsters in this trial: the rat, the raccoon looking monster, and the boar. Fighting the raccoon and the rat are pretty small monsters compared to the giant boar. I did die to each of them because I didn't know their moveset, and I was being too selfish with my attacks, which is great. It's good to see that they gave me a challenge. Fighting the boar was really fun. When you fight it, they teach you how to build the giant gate to block its charge attack. And when you nail it right, it is so satisfying. Yo, just on time! Next, let's talk about the open world. The ability to build your own campsite is pretty good. You can literally build your tent anywhere in the map. And this map is massive. Even though the trial only gave you a small space of the map, again, the map is still pretty big from that small space that you play in. You can use your tent as a quick travel location, meaning that you can just spawn wherever you put your tent. I do have to wonder, what happens if you build your tent in the location of where a monster could spawn? That can be good for monster farming. You can also place a forge at any location. This acts as both your weapon and armor forge, and for changing around equipment. Looking at the weapon tree, my god, something is going on in there. This tree is quite big. There's a lot of branches that you can go into. Most of it is hidden since it is the beginning of the game, but with the few that you can see, some of these have their own buffs. It would be interesting to see what kind of builds you can create to destroy everything in the game. As for the armor builds, not much was given here because each armor is tied to whatever monsters you fought. And since there's only 3 monsters, then there's not much choice in the armor builds. The Katakuri also has a tree going on. This is just more Katakuri that you can build later in the game, as you collect more currency to unlock those Katakuris. These Katakuris are a mix of ones that can be used for combat, traversal, and farming materials. To get the currency to unlock them, you need to defeat monsters, or at least fight them because they drop them from time to time. Okay, so what's my overall thoughts? Is this game good, or is it so trash that you shouldn't get it? At the end of my stream, I said that this game is not Monster Hunter. In terms of the complexity of the weapons, Wild Heart weapons, so far, are not complex, and Monster Hunter weapons are more complex. However, that doesn't mean that this game isn't fun. This game is actually good for anyone wanting to get into the hunting genre. It's very beginner friendly. There's been moments throughout the trial where a tutorial is given to you, but it's very light. What I mean by that is that the tutorials aren't thrown at you straight away. In Monster Hunter World, the amount of tutorials that are thrown at you is really bad for beginners, and it feels like a heavy amount of information to take in. In Wild Hearts, the information is gradually given to you, and most of it is very light in the amount of information. You can also choose to look at that information in depth with a single press of a button. Other than the tutorial and the not so complex weapons, again, in my own opinion, this is a good game to play, and I think it will satisfy Monster Hunter players. Not all of them though, most of them. I can see the hardcore Monster Hunter fans saying, this isn't good, but you can't satisfy everyone's needs. It's gonna be fun fighting these new big boys, using the weapons, and creating multiple builds. And I hope you guys found this video useful. Give it a like if you did, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I shall see you guys later.